welcome back to my Legends of Magic mini-series. Here, I'm continuing with a certain bit of anachronistic thoughts. Now, I would be doing a video on Meadowbrook, but as of writing this, her comic hasn't come out on a system that I have access to, so instead, here's a video on Starswirl the Bearded. Now, to start us off, let's get the obvious out of the way. Starswirl, culturally, is obviously based on Merlin. And, honestly, I can't get much deeper than that. This would be why I didn't do this earlier, because there isn't much of a video to do about him. Especially given that he hasn't had a full episode to himself. Just a few mentions here and there. But, let me tell you what I mean by how similar Starswirl and Merlin are. To start off with, he is an old mage with powerful magic, which is obviously like many classical interpretations of the character. Not to mention, he takes the bumbling mage trope right out of the Disney version, a trope that is common in modern fantasy literature around the world, such as Rincewind from the Discworld books. Starswirl, as well, was known for two things for the majority of his being mentioned in the show. The first being the fact that he is one of the most powerful mages in history, something that Merlin is known as in our real world. And the second being that he is the mentor to the princesses. And this is really the sticking point that really proves that Starswirl is pretty much exclusively based on Merlin, because he trains the fated rulers of Equestria and then has them construct Canterlot. Canterlot also has some things that, given its obvious pun, makes sense from the standpoint of how it's an interpretation of the Camelot myth. Canterlot was built by the newly crowned princesses as a home for their rule, and it was constructed different from all other castles at the time because they wanted it to be more open and perfect, which was supposedly a factor in the construction of Camelot. In addition, it has been pointed out to me 1,000 times that the architecture is vaguely Byzantine, which would make sense for Camelot if they were really constructing a new palace right after Rome was no longer able to hold the island. Of course, in all other aspects, the majority of actual Canterlot City is based on French culture, from the food to the fashion. But in any case, back on our admittedly short track, now that we have Starswirl and Merlin out of the way, let's just talk about his powers. Starswirl's main ability, as it turns out, is transportation. From time travel to dimensional doors. His greatest achievements are all based around dimensional movement. Honestly, there isn't really a cultural point of view for this, but I thought it was kind of interesting that even though his talent is presumably magic, he does have a specialization like how Twilight does with friendship magic, despite having a magic-based talent. In any case, I hope this was good enough. I didn't have long to make this video. I actually started last Sunday. I might have gotten away with making a quick shot review of the movie, but I figured that it would be easier to do this in advance and leave that for another day. Next time on this mini-series, we'll have a short video on Meadowbrook and French Louisiana, and possibly next week I'll have a review on the movie. We'll see. See you next time. Trophy out.